Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kick the Can Podcast, Episode 6. Today, we're going to have somebody help me along, one of my oldest friend. He's going to come on, and we're going to share some memories, stories growing up, and it's going to help me out a lot. Talking for 40 minutes, 30 minutes. I could do it, but I'm glad we got some technology now. We're going to bring some people on. A lot of people want to come on. I'm getting some good positive feedback. People from all over, young Gen Z people, old timers, Sinatra people. So I'm really having a lot of fun with this. I'm glad you guys are letting me latch onto your ears and go on this ride. So let me bring in Larry Samele. So you're on, Larry. Let's see what you got. Welcome to
Hey,
Kick the Can
Paul.
Podcast.
Hey, Paul, and all our listeners. Thanks for having me. I've been enjoying your podcast up to now. I feel like so much of it is telling the story of my life, too. So, Paul invited me on to kind of add to some of the stories and make sure we remember things the same way. Paul and I go way back as far as two people could ever go. We actually were friends even before we were born because our fathers were friends. Our fathers both grew up on Hoffman Street, and they were members of the Ford and Bears Club. So I'm not sure how it happened, but Paul has previously described the three buildings on Hoffman Street, 2501, 2505, and 2509. And Paul and I wound up on the same floor in building 2505. I lived in apartment 8, and Paulie lived in apartment 10. So as we were born 5 weeks apart, and we've been friends ever since. So there we go. That qualifies me as your lifelong friend.
Yeah. And when you add on all the things we went through, school, right up to marriage, being parents,
Yep.
grandparents. It's I think it's a novel thing for us. A lot of people similar stories. Or I got my friend from third grade. But I'm always going to say, from what we had on Hoffman Street, just checks a few more boxes for people. We it was our own little world there.
It sure
Like I
was.
described previous, right?
I try to describe it to my children, but you can never really get it come across with it. It was a
Yeah,
special bond and it was a special place. I'm sure other blocks had the same history, the same feelings, but this is it for us. This was what we grew up with, and this is what we learned.
yeah. And if you tie in all the Mount Carmel stuff and the rest of the cast, the characters that were there, Stephen Albano, he's like right there with us, maybe from 5 years old. He lived in the next building.
Yep,
We're gonna get
2501.
him. Yep. And that's where your grandmother lived.
Yeah, believe it or not, I had my two grandparents in the same building on 2501. On the third floor was my father's parents, and on the fourth
Right.
floor was my mother's parents.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
they grew up in the same building right next door to our building.
You talk about that generation. Now, are your daughters listening to the podcast? Did they hear the
I
stories?
shared it with them. I haven't discussed it with them, but it definitely is something. I'm sure Matt is learning a few things too.
Yeah. Well, what it is? My point is, if how do I want to say that they hear us when we're together tell the stories, but when you hear it sort of on this kind of a platform, it really, I think it makes it different than just in person. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
I saw some of my cousins over the weekend, and even they didn't know the complete history of my parents. And the feedback you get, so even some of the younger, like Gen Z guys, like they want to come on. So I'm preparing to have young people and how they look at that kind of society of the Bronx. It's almost like it's going to be a sociology study. You know what I mean, Larry?
Yeah, I do. I do. I do. And
Uh,
let's keep having fun with it
yeah, I'm
and tell our
having a
stories.
blast. You
Good.
know, we could tell
I could hear it. I could
stories.
hear it in your voice.
Yeah, I get into it, and then I ride out after the episodes. I talk to some people. I bump into some people, and I think people are spreading the word, kind of thing. We didn't check the numbers, but I think like Larry, the first episode, I probably could have went out to opened the window and talked, and more people would have heard me.
That's okay. You're not. You're
But
not. You're not here for.
that's okay. That's it.
But I'm enjoying them too because there's things you forget and there's things that you maybe looked at a different way. So I'm enjoying every episode, and I'm
Yeah,
happy to be here.
yeah. I'm glad. You know, I was making a few notes, and so we had gone, you know, altar servers, Cub Scouts. You
Yep.
know, we go ahead.
Almost so.
Yeah. So you know, a main part of our bond was so your mother was a single mom, and so was
After
mine.
my parents separated. Yeah.
When your parents separated,
Yep.
your mother, Gemma and Millie, they were
They were
tight. They were
very
tight.
very close. That's right.
And and another positive side of that was your father got to take you every Saturday.
Yep.
And he would always bring me, Steven, anybody. So we got to go with you and your father. I guess, Yankee games, botanical gardens,
Yep. The zoo.
the zoo. Because, he was a divorced dad, but he wanted to spend time with his son. I don't remember your sister being on those gigs too much.
When it was more me and her, just me and her, when it was my sister.
Okay.
I
When
don't
I
think he
didn't
spent
tag
too much.
along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like we did a lot with your dad.
Yep. Well,
Salome, right, Larry? Salome.
Salome. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
a lot of people in the neighborhood
And
know.
you
A lot of people in the neighborhood would know him as Salome. Same as
right.
Tony, Anthony, but it's known as Salome.
Yeah. And your uncle and your father's brothers was Chich and BG.
That's
A
correct.
couple of
George and
classics.
Mike. George and
Uncle
Mike.
George, Uncle Mike.
That's right.
But that BG really took the cake. What a character he was.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
I know.
I still use some of his lines.
Oh, he's priceless.
Yeah. We had laughs.
He
We
is,
always had laughs. There were
yeah.
laughs all the time.
And even, we would embrace these older guys because we would go into the Fordham Bears Club before we went home, like on a Friday night, check in. Louis would check in with his dad. Your father
Yep.
would be there.
Yeah,
And I always
many of our
remember.
fathers were friends, right?
Yeah. And, even after my father passed away, they kept his name on the, they had that board with all the members.
Yep.
And it showed actually who didn't
Little
pay
Tony.
their dues. Yeah.
But well,
Uh,
since we brought up your father, I just want to share a memory. I hope it's not too painful. But if you remember, we lived in apartment 8 and apartment 10, we used to walk across to Mount Carmel Church every Sunday. We used to go to the same mass, and we used to meet and go to the church. And I mean, we used to play in your apartment, and we knew your I knew your father was sick. Obviously, you knew. And I remember being having to be quiet and when we played in that middle room, which was the living room, and your father was in the back room with the oxygen tanks.
you remember
So
that?
one day I was we were going to church, so I knocked on your door, and I guess we were about 9 or 10 years old, and your Aunt Florrie, your mother's sister, answered the doorbell, and she says Paul won't be going to mass today, and she told me what happened, and I was devastated. I'll never forget that. And I also remember being in the church with you at your father's funeral mass, and you yelled out for your father in the aisle, and it just stood with me the rest of my life. Sorry to bring
Yeah.
up a bad memory, but
Yeah.
I wanted to say that.
Yeah, yeah, but those are the things that cement it.
Yep.
We, it's not always a night on the town or a great dinner. These stories, this me being losing my dad in fourth grade,
Yeah, you were
it's a
young. I mean,
big
you were
part
too
of
young.
my identity,
Absolutely, absolutely.
And everybody in Mount Carmel, they went to the mass, but in our block, everybody had a story of my father who remembered him.
I
It,
always
it,
remember him in front of his nice car, taking
yeah,
care of the blue
that
Oldsmobile.
was right. We were about till we were about 6 years old, 7 years old. He was still able to go out,
Yep, yep. Always well
and
dressed and always had the blue
he didn't
Oldsmobile.
work. I look at my Mount Carmel report cards, and this guy signed every report card. And then up until fourth grade, and then my mother, Carmela Granelli, started to sign them. It's when you see it like that, it's what do they call that? A hard awakening, a reality
Yeah,
check.
yeah. So yeah, it is.
Uh,
But this is your life. I mean, everybody has their own
that's it.
stories, and everybody has their own ups and downs. This was your
That's
life, and
the
you made a good run, and that's it.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
learned, and you moved on from there.
yeah. It was
What they
it's
say,
amazing. Go ahead.
what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah, definitely. I don't dwell about it, but being an only child and not having a father was a big thing to me. Larry, I saw a couple of weeks ago that they have something called National Siblings Day. You ever hear about this?
No, sounds like one of those fake holidays that you got to buy a card for.
No,
But go
I
ahead.
think it's just maybe a Facebook thing.
Okay, all
So
right.
so I'm new to Facebook. So like I see some of my like a couple of my Mount guys, they're posting pictures with one guy got like three brothers. I mean,
Hmm.
how great! I mean, I guess sometimes you could say family's overrated, but wow, I thought that was great. And then my mind starts to spin. When is National Only Child Day?
Very good,
you think
very
that's
good. We'll
you
have to
think
put
that's
that in the
coming soon?
suggestion box. We'll put that in the suggestion box.
I'll, I'll start a platform for it.
There you go. There you go. Now that you're experienced with it.
Yeah. You know, we one of the things that cements our relationship to me when you asked me to be Stephanie's godfather. That's just one of those boy oh boy, the friendship is just going to stretch out some more respect. And I know your daughters they really get the connection to me and you. You know,
They do.
they
They do. Not sure maybe
you
about the history. They don't really know the history, but they know
no
you're my oldest friend, and that's it.
right. I always say, now your mother's maiden name was Mizuko, right?
That's correct.
So I'm like an honorary Mizuko. I've been around so
Honorary
long.
Mizuko. There you go. There you go.
I
I've been
know
around a
all
long
your whole
time.
family
And
on
I
that
also feel
side.
like a Granelli sometimes too.
Yeah. Oh, sure. All those, we used to go to those parties at Aunt Nettie and Uncle Eddie's.
Sure.
Joey, because Joey came aboard, even though he was a little bit
Couple of years younger
younger,
now. Yeah.
but he came everywhere. Super Bowls,
Hamptons.
vacations, Hamptons.
Yep.
We're going to cover the Hamptons. I'm figuring out how I want to approach it. The Hamptons. I want to do a whole segment. I want to mention all those people that we hung out with in those summers. So I might have
City
to
Island.
actually
Little
prepare.
City Island people.
Yes, right, Larry. I think I might actually have to prepare a little bit for that. You know.
You're actually gonna make notes?
I might make might. So I don't want to leave anybody out. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's that was a fun time. And I also wanted to touch base on all those Super Bowls we went to.
I was at 15. I'm not sure. You probably went more than me.
Yeah, not many more. Not many more. I think I was around 17, and it wasn't. First of all, the first Super Bowl we went to was the ticket was $65.
Yeah.
So
And
we just
we never
we get
we never paid above ticket price.
right. So I think that'll
Luckily
be
we had a
another
connection.
episode. Maybe right around Super Bowl, we'll do a Super Bowl episode. You know what I mean? I'll try to
Awesome.
bring on some of the folks that came to some of the games.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about Mount Carmel. I mean, I don't even remember how many grades you were actually in my class.
Well, we
I,
had
I
nine to choose. We had nine to choose from, so it's
right.
probably 4 or 5, I would think, but could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I have some of the pictures, but I don't
Of the
recall.
class,
I
of the
know
classes,
fourth grade you weren't.
definitely
You
not.
had
And
Sister Monica,
Sister Monica
and
Aces.
then we had right the softball games.
Right, you were Sister Emmanuel, right?
It says Manuel Ace. You were Monica Aces.
Monica Jets, maybe. I don't know.
Jets. We were the Sister Manuel
Emmanuel
Aces.
Aces. Right.
Right. You know what a weird thing I was thinking about too? See if you remember this. This must have been about fifth or sixth grade. We decided to walk way down Webster Avenue to the Pepsi Cola trucking place. Do you remember that?
No, it doesn't ring a bell
And,
right away. But
and
keep
we
going.
would get
I might pick up on it.
stickers and swag from the,
Yes,
and then
yes,
you would,
yes, yes, yes.
and
That I
then you would
remember.
put them on. Like your book, not your book
Your
bag. Like
books,
we had to cover our books.
your book covers, and your bikes.
Yeah,
And yes,
yeah.
yes, I do
So,
remember that. They were
but
promotional items that we would
right,
walk in and get.
but like that was a
Yes,
big balls maneuver for us to walk way down Webster Avenue, probably like 170th, to get
wow,
some bumper stickers.
wow, that was a good walk.
Yeah,
I tell people
risky.
all the time about how we never felt unsafe in that neighborhood.
No.
You know, it was in the middle of the Bronx. bordering a couple of bad neighborhoods, and we never felt unsafe. We were out till all hours of the morning and walking around,
Yeah.
and never had an issue, never had a problem.
Yeah.
Wasn't
The
wasn't a rich area. Everybody was working class, middle
right.
class, and we never had a problem.
It was buffered on a few sides, the college and the zoo. So that
Yep.
right there kept the
Yeah.
neighborhood sort of insulated, and there were really the projects weren't around. To live there, you had to work.
Right.
Another thing I remember is like in the fall when everybody made wine.
In
Not the
basement.
people in apartments, in their basements.
Yep.
And it would seem like it was all within a week or two. And they would get their grapes, and then they would start the process. And then they would knock down the cartons that the grapes came in. And I remember like Hoffman Street between 188th and 189th, a lot of private houses.
Yep.
I think everybody must have made wine. You remember that?
Of course I do. And those cartons became our toys.
Yeah, right. Make a sled or roll down the steps with them.
Yep.
Uh,
Didn't take much. We had a good imagination.
how we killed the whole day. Yeah, and another thing, we space was at a premium. We played softball in that little field between 45 and the sidewalk with the fence. Remember that?
Of course I remember. We played
It was
almost every day.
who was the teams? Go ahead, tell me.
Me and Midget against you and Stevie Albano.
Right. And once in a while, if Ronnie and Michael were around,
Right.
we
Right.
could have
Then we'd
three
have
guys
bigger
on the
games.
team.
Right. And
And,
it was
and
always
those
an advantage to the
guys,
lefties. Always advantage for the
yeah,
lefty, like Richie Mastropietro, who could bang it
right.
off the wall.
Or
Yeah,
Louis'
that was.
cousin Richie.
Yep. Yep.
And Ronnie and Michael could never be on the same team.
For a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons.
They'd be swinging, arguing.
There was two brothers who used to send each other's home bloody all the time.
I'm sure the parents went, all right, okay. They were fun too, those labs.
Yeah, we always found something to do around there. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I want to try. I'm trying to get in touch with Midget, Michael Lombardi. I'm gonna have to stretch out to somebody else. I just want him to see if he's aware of these podcasts.
Yeah,
'Cause he was.
when he was still living in New York, he used to come out to the island once in a while and go to an Islander game with me, especially if they played the Canadians. We used to talk when the playoffs started, and I sent him a Christmas text. I never heard from him. I sent him a Stanley Cup text this year, and never heard from him again. So I don't know what's going on with him. He's in Arizona,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I don't know. I really don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's kind
somebody
of.
listening that was able to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
But he was a big hockey fan, and he used to actually listen to games in French, not knowing French, just to hear the scores and hear the goals. And he introduced us
Yeah.
to hockey. We became hockey fans. We all became hockey fans.
Yeah. We even went to a couple of games. There was only 6 teams pretty much back then when
Yep.
he was doing
Yes, it
it.
was. Yes, it was.
And Midget would always find himself getting punished. You know, he he would come around for a couple of days, then up, see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was a wild boy. Wild boy. He used to keep track of how
for
many
sure.
bottles he broke.
Yeah, They used to smash bottles and find them, break them.
A
And
gallon was worth 4 points, I think.
yeah, I got a four
An empty
pointer.
gallon. Yep.
He lived in our building too.
He lived in 2505 on what, fifth
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah, way up there.
There was a story for
well,
everybody in every apartment.
Yeah.
We had a name. We had a name and a story for everybody. Yep. Crazy Man lived right below me.
Yeah, crazy man.
Crazy Man was
I
a
bet you.
World War II veteran who lost it somewhere when he was captured by the Japanese and used to spend days talking to himself in his apartment. And we used to all hear the conversations out the window.
Right. And we were very sympathetic, weren't we?
Oh, yeah, we definitely were. We
Merciless. You know, when
knock
I
on the
used to
door,
go in the
knock on the door as we
building,
passed.
knock on the door, run away.
Right. Yeah.
The stairwell was right next to his apartment. I mean, until I was about 20, I would run fast.
Run fast. You always increase your steps every time you got by there.
Crazy man. You don't want him to get you.
No.
For sure.
Never did. Never did.
Yeah.
All right, he never did any harm.
Nah, he kept to himself.
Right.
Crazy man. One of the many nicknames. The people on the
Harmon
block.
3. Yep, Harmon 3.
Yeah.
I remember.
Another thing I wanted to talk to you. Do you remember the concert we went to in Fordham University? I think my cousin Camille took me.
Yes.
Us.
They
had a couple extra tickets.
Probably was my first concert. I think. And we went to see the Union Gap, I believe, right? They were the headliners.
Yeah.
But opening up for the Union Gap, if you remember, was Arlo Guthrie, the Chambers Brothers, and Buffalo Springfield.
Yeah.
What a show.
Yep. And I mentioned it to my cousin Camille. She does not remember it. But that was such a big thing for us.
How much older than us was she?
Camille, she's about 8 years older than we are.
Okay, all right. So she was already in college at the time. She went to Fordham.
Yeah. Okay. I think she went to like NYU or something downtown.
Okay.
But I don't know how. I don't think they were. They might have still been living on Harvard Street, my cousins. Because if it was after my father passed away, we were probably about 10 or 11, right? Fifth grade?
I think we were like 12, maybe 12 or 13, maybe. They were a little older.
Wait, don't we have that? I think we have a ticket stub somewhere.
If I can remember right, it was 1967.
All right, so it was 7th grade.
7th grade.
I think I have a picture of a ticket stub that you found.
Right.
I'll post it. I'll have Matt put it up.
Okay.
I got a bunch of other pictures here, 2 of us. What Matt will put up. They're classic. Jeez, I tell you, man.
You have a box with all the pictures from the old days?
Yeah, pretty much. They're not that organized. I need to organize them a little better. What I'll do is, if I know I'm going to speak about something, we try to put it up.
Great idea. Great idea.
Do you see the pictures?
Oh yeah, I see them. I see them when you put it up
on Facebook, right? Or
yeah. Or YouTube.
Are they on Spotify?
Yep. Spotify.
No, the pictures are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Facebook. Okay. Yeah. Thank God for pictures. Stephen Albano. I got to give him a lot of credit for these pictures. Not only for through episode 6, But moving forward, he's got pictures of everything.
I always remember him as having a camera, and that's why
Yeah.
he was able to take all these pictures. He had a little brownie camera.
Yeah. When I'm going to have him on, I'm going to let him tell the story of that camera. He was, and he sends me pictures all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure he has
They're
some
really
good ones.
priceless.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure he has some good ones.
No
I don't have
matter,
that many.
I have okay pictures. More of as an adult or a young adult, but I have nice pictures that are just enough to
Hmm.
reminisce and have a topic. It's crazy stuff, man.
Good
What
memories.
else, Larry? What
Well,
do
you
you think
started
you
talking
got
about Mount
there?
Carmel. Started to talk
Oh,
about
Mount
Mount Carmel.
Carmel, sure. Right. I, I go off topic.
That's all right.
So, what would be your number one Mount Carmel story? What grade and what was it?
Well, I think the one that I remember the most, that always sticks out for me, was when we were in Mount Carmel from the first grade to the fourth, or kindergarten to the fourth grade. We were boys and girls in the same class, and then in the fifth grade we separated into the boys department. So one of the times in the fifth grade, I know you talked about him previously. We had a brother named Brother Daggett,
Right.
and like you said, he had a lot. Looking back, he did so many positive things for us, but always had the nickname Daggett because we had to put a nickname on everybody.
Yeah, of course.
And there
I
was a,
think
and there was
I
a,
think we inherited that nickname. The older kids
yeah,
probably
yes, yeah. He was there
started
before us.
that.
But I remember just being in the fifth grade, and somebody on the PA system called him Daggett. Is that what you remember, or was it over the loudspeaker,
I
or was that
I think it was
it was
in
at
the cafeteria.
or an assembly or something like that?
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the older guys called him Daggett.
Right.
So he
I
tracked.
don't, Larry.
Yes,
Like the
no name.
kids, the kids got tuned up. We don't know their names.
Right. The
Go ahead.
three guys, they were older than us, and Daggett found out who they were. Brother Daggett found out who they were, and he called an assembly of the boys department in the yard of the boys department in Mount Carmel, and he lined everybody up, and took off his collar, which I don't know what that means religiously, but I guess it gave him the license to do whatever he wanted, and it was no longer acting as a religious person. And like you said before, he was an ex-Marine, and he pulled the three guys up on the front so everybody could see, and he warned that if anybody that was watching cracked a smile, they would be getting the same treatment.
Oh,
And
I
he
don't remember that.
and he grabbed the three guys and gave them a beating I will never forget. And I remember just
Yeah.
standing there being so scared. And
Right.
there's the legend of one of the legends of Daggett.
Yeah. He
You don't remember that?
that was like the worst side of him,
That
and
was. It was.
you know he did so much. And what was he? English teacher? I don't remember
I think he taught us a lot of different things.
the different subjects.
Yeah, a lot of different subjects. I remember math. At least math was one of them. English was one of them.
Yeah.
And he
And we
also
paid attention
introduced
in that
us.
class. You paid attention.
Yep. Yeah. No. He
You know.
always was. It was a very active class, and he communicated well, and we all got the message. And
Yep.
one of the things I remember from the seventh grade class was he introduced us to sex education. So I guess that was part of his curriculum. And the way he did it,
Ah.
it was by anonymously having a question box. And by seventh grade, we kind of knew what was going on. So it was
Right.
it was another time to bust balls. So we used to ask ridiculous questions. But he did answer a lot of questions for us.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Well, yeah, the suggestion box.
The suggestion
You
box.
know,
That's right.
he
The
was
question
fair. I
box.
mean,
Question box, not the suggestion box. The question box.
the question box.
And everybody would submit a question, and he would open it up in class and read from it and try and answer the question. Obviously, some of the
Exactly.
questions were made up, but just to get a reaction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, that was you were on pins and needles in his class, but then he broke it up with a little, by a little current events or busting balls on some of the kids. Yeah, I mentioned those
He had a name for
nicknames.
everybody also.
Everybody, every kid had a
Yeah,
name.
every kid had a name. But I tell you,
Mangy.
he was when you look back on all the teachers that affected you, he definitely affected us.
Yeah.
He taught us a lot,
No.
and like you said,
He
he
gave a
had
lot
a
of his
very good
time
side to it.
too.
A lot of his
Free
time, right?
time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It
I mean,
was good.
he used to paddle us with his paddle, which he used to
Right.
call Black Sambo,
Yeah.
and he wasn't afraid to hit us. That's for sure.
Now that when you got shots, what was the teacher that when he pulled the paddle back to give a kid shots, the class would
Uh,
go, the class would go, ah, and
uh,
then the teacher would try to, was that Brother Gilbert?
I think it was, yes.
Because I don't think we could do that with Brother Daggett.
No,
And
it
then
was a
Brother
part.
Gilbert would try to hustle up
Right.
the shot.
Stop short. Right.
Yeah, and that's one of those examples of like we didn't just get together, the whole group of guys, and go, okay, if anybody's going to get shots, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go and then scream when the kid gets it. It just evolved into that.
It just
It was
evolved.
no
It
right,
was
no plan.
spontaneous. It was
Yeah.
spontaneous. That's right. Yep.
Oh yeah, that kid's going to get shots. We're gonna make some fun out of it.
It was so much fun going to
Ah.
school every day. Every day, we never missed class. We never was sick. We never missed class.
Oh,
You don't want to miss
forget it.
anything.
My mother had this rule. When I was sick, I had to stay 24 hours without fever. I said, Ma, you're killing me here. I got to get back to school. I can imagine what I'm missing over there.
Imagine kids that didn't want to
Even
miss school.
unheard of.
Unheard of.
We started from the minute we came down in the building because we walked to school together every day. Me,
Yep.
you, and Steven, I'm sure, and whoever else. And then we'd pick up the guys coming up 189th, bust balls on a couple of the other kids that were just in our way. So we would warm up breaking balls, block the sidewalk, bully some kids, and
Well,
so you're ready.
we all played
Yeah.
sports. We all played softball. We all played football, basketball, whatever. Our best sport was breaking balls.
Absolutely.
They didn't give a letter for that, but that would have been our best sport.
No, no. I want to, moving forward, when we graduated 8th grade, we got some of that binder with the diploma and everybody's picture in it. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
Larry?
yeah. I think I have it.
I got to find it
I think I have
because
it.
even on the Mount Carmel page, I think they would like some of that,
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
when Joe Laporta started that page, he did post a lot of the class pictures and a lot of. I know you came along
Yeah,
later
yeah.
on, but he did post a lot of the pictures, and everybody contributed with that. That was good. Yeah, those are good
Yeah,
memories.
that's great. And he's great, Joe. Always acknowledges the podcast. very positive. Just what I need to keep the kick the can rolling.
Kick the can down the block.
Yeah, we're gonna
Joe
go.
Joe was responsible for putting our 50th anniversary dinner together. So
Right, right.
he knows he's
Maybe
got good connections.
the 60th is approaching.
Wow. Well,
Let's see if we can put something together.
there you go.
Kick the can marathon. Nobody could even walk, or let alone run.
Have you given
That's
attention
great.
on that Mount Carmel page for the podcast?
Yeah, we posted on. Yeah, we
Okay,
posted
good.
on there. So a lot of guys picked up on it. They comment. Larry, it's really unbelievable. So I'm going to try to stretch out to a few more websites. Maybe Mount St. Michael website.
And also Mount Carmel
There's
has other
pages.
years. They have other
Right.
years besides ours. They have 67, 69, the year before, the year after. A lot of those guys
Uh-huh.
we knew, they were close, had the same
Right.
experiences. So they might be interested too.
What do they have? Like Joe's the administrator of the 68 page.
Yeah,
These other
yeah.
pages have the
I,
same thing.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm talked out, Larry. How you doing over there?
I'm good. I'm enjoying it. Listen, I'm glad you have me
All
on.
right.
I appreciate being with you, whatever I can contribute.
All right. We'll look forward to another meetup. And thanks for helping me out tonight.
My pleasure.
And
Thank you, man.
I'll catch up with you later.
Very good.
Thank you, babe. All righty. So we're going to wrap up episode 6. Hope you enjoyed it. A little different. We brought somebody in. Like I said, we're a work in progress here. So tonight we are sponsored by the Comedy Club, Larry's Comedy Club, Governors. I think there's a couple of them on Long Island, Hicksville. I don't know. Look them up. They're our sponsor tonight. And don't forget, you could email the show. Are we still waiting for our first email, Matt? Okay. Somebody give me an email. Tell me drop dead or something. And the comments I'm getting on Spotify are awesome. And don't forget, you got Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and spread the word. If somebody doesn't know about it, they think they like the Bronx, they like stories of the Bronx, we're going to keep going with this. And hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Kick the can.